No, I'm sorry. After you read this, we can have a discussion. But the bottom line is, I asked, was any shipment delayed, or denied because of the Jones Act? And the definitive answer from the Coast Guard and FEMA was no. So let's not create a myth here to pursue an ideological agenda, which would both undermine national security, probably deprive the people of Puerto Rico of a good shipping service and other things. And I'm also going to put a copy of this in the record. So these are facts, and I know we have fake facts these days, but these are real facts. Let's move on from there. So I'm curious about this mutual aid thing. The governor is alleging that FEMA told him that because the Corps was designated to restore power, that he could not execute the mutual aid. Are you aware that anybody in your agency told him that?
I'm not aware of that, no.
Okay, so we have to get to the bottom of that, but that's his claim that that's why he didn't execute it. And the mutual aid obviously is less expensive than a couple of contracts, which I mentioned already, these no-bid contracts that Puerto Rico entered into. So we'll have to get to the bottom of that. And to one other quick question, do you have, you gave us a litany of good ideas at the beginning that we'd like to pursue, but do you have also ideas about how we're going to deal with non-compliance of NFIP? Because we already heard that, well, we got a bunch of people here who didn't buy the insurance who were supposed to, and now we got to bail them out. You got any ideas on that?
We got to fix we have to make a decision. Do we want to continue to reward people building in vulnerable areas by giving them insurance that's not at an actuarial rate? Or do we hit the reset button and allow the private sector market to start dictating more of what those rates look like and taking over some of the market? I mean, it's going to be a tough question. But I can tell you that I'm not interested in running an NFIP program that's going to go into debt continuously. And if you guys did the good work of listening to our requests when it came to providing the additional funding for Harvey and Maria, but if we do that, we have got to fix the framework of the NFIP to honor the taxpayer's dollar.
Okay. And one simple fix would be, we'll insure you once you have a loss. Next time you go to the private market.
We would be happy to provide you our thoughts on NFIP restructuring as well.
Great. General, just since I know your expertise is not necessarily the restoration of a power grid, and we talked about that extensively, but one thing I know the Corps is really good at is construction, temporary bridges. What are our barriers to, we're still hearing about problems with access to remote areas and highways that are, where the bridges are out or the highway itself is out. What are the barriers there for getting better access?
Sure. Well, first of all, the Department of Transportation has the lead for all the roads and bridges, and they're working very closely with the Highway Department and the Department of Transportation in Puerto Rico to do the assessments, to identify the requirements. They've already installed a number of temporary bridges. They've already put in a request for funding that the Federal Highway Administration has to bring dollars in to make more permanent, long-lasting repairs to some of the infrastructure. One of the real challenges in the remote areas, and I spent some time with General Buchanan a couple weeks ago, was many of the remote areas suffer from landslides. So you may have a road that's cleared into a remote area on one day, it rains a lot, and you have a landslide that causes a road to close. You got to go back in there and open it back up again. So that's an on-again, off-again, long-term issue that we'll continue to deal with, especially gaining access in the remote areas. But I believe DOT has a pretty good handle with the Puerto Rico Department of Transportation on the way ahead for transportation infrastructure on the island.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, gentlemen. Mr. Perry is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, gentlemen, for your service. Every single member of Congress, I think, all of the American people, their hearts are broken for the people of Puerto Rico and their continued suffering without power and without access to services and infrastructure. My questions will go to Administrator Long initially and Major General Jackson, who are Rock of the Marne. PREPA was created